What's up guys, I'm back like I never left. In this video we're going to be talking about all of the Chinese stocks that could potentially be at risk. We're going to go over exactly the bill that just passed. We're going to go over what could potentially happen in the short term for the majority of the Chinese stocks and what to expect for the next few days, for the next few weeks to come. I'm also going to be doing a quick stock market recap, and we're going to go over some important economic reports that can affect the stock market for tomorrow. So make sure you stay tuned. Now let's get right into the video. Before we get into the video, I appreciate if you can hit the like button. If you have any questions, any comments, make sure you drop it in the comment section below. As you can see over here from the headlines, it just came out just a few hours ago. House passes China delisting bill sending to Trump for approval. So the House of Representatives on Wednesday anonymously passed a bill that sets the stage for delisting Chinese companies such as Alibaba Group Holdings and JD.com from US exchanges if they do not comply with the US audit oversight rule within a 3-year window. So this is huge news that significantly affect the stock price for the Chinese companies like NIO, XPEV. They had phenomenal numbers, delivery numbers that they reported back to back. Positive news that came out for NIO. Goldman Sachs upgrading the price target, but really these stocks have been really aggressively selling to the downside. That is a huge negative catalyst that affected them, even though their numbers were solid, mainly. And this bill is set to protect investors in the US because in the past, there are some companies that really took advantage and they raised a lot of money. A company like Luckin Coffee really got caught lying, frauding investors. Their accounting was very bad and they eventually got delisted pretty soon. So unless these major Chinese companies comply with US audit oversights, this could potentially happen to them, but we still have to wait. We still have to wait for 3 years for this to finalize, for them to negotiate and figure out something. But of course, a few months ago when this bill got announced, the majority of the stocks sold off to the downside, but they recovered. Companies like NIO, Alibaba, they all sold off to the downside when this bill got announced. But right now you see all of these stocks like NIO, up over $50. Now it's close to $47. These companies made a move to the upside. So 3 years is a very solid window for them to figure out something that can definitely help them out. But this is also an important bill to help US investors. Investors are heavily invested in NIO, XPEV. They need to be really watching out for, because the numbers that these companies report is really sensitive, because the stock definitely reacts significantly based off of the delivery numbers, their sales numbers, and these are really important parameters that hedge funds and major analysts look at to forecast and foresee what is the growth potential for this company for the future. So there can be a lot of investors that can be lured in, because when they see this huge growth, these huge delivery numbers, the sales numbers, exponential growth, and if those numbers are faked, that can drastically affect the amount of money that people are going to be losing a lot. For this specific reason, we're going to look at exactly a recent report, the short seller that announced that Candy, which is a Chinese company, we talked about this company in the past, they're claiming that Candy falsified their sales numbers to fake and nab $160 million from US investors. So that is a lot of money. And of course, as I mentioned, the numbers that they talk about can be really manipulated in a way because it's not properly regulated. So if the US are able to regulate them, they can potentially find major hidden issues when it comes to some electric vehicle companies, not the major ones, but some smaller companies like, for example, Candy. So as you see some of the allegations that came out of this company, how they discovered this major fraud that's happening right now. They're claiming it's a fraud. It's not confirmed yet, but they're saying they uncovered it. So Candy raised $160 million from US investors this month alone. All told, we think Candy has engaged in a major fake revenue scheme, hyping its story to US investors and taking advantage of regulatory gaps, enabling China-based companies to take cash from US markets. So this is exactly what I was talking about. These sales numbers, delivery numbers are super sensitive, and when investors look at those, they get attracted to them and they invest a lot of money, and they can potentially be scammed. So the allegations has come up. This is a well-known short seller that took down Nikola Motors. So if you guys know Trevor Milton, he was the founder and the chairman of Nikola Motors. They uncovered a lot of dirty secrets about that company, and eventually he resigned, and now he is basically out of the company right now. So this is a very well-known short seller. So we definitely need to pay attention to exactly what they found and take note of that. So some of the major claims that they found from Candy is that the company has reported no domestic EV sales for years outside of its minority stake in a joint venture. We expect its US efforts will continue to sputter. So this is huge. As I mentioned, these sales numbers are they can be faked out a lot. They can just say that they're getting sales by using, some other partners that are buying the same cars from them, so that is not good when it comes to that. Candy, currently pitched to investors, is focused on an imminent US launch. Candy has been launching in the US for 12 years. Its first US vehicles were imported illegally and seized by customs. A former partner said every car that eventually made it into the country broke. So this is the allegation that they're talking about. Candy, they're trying to launch it. We're going to be going over this as an example, what could potentially be going on behind the scene of the Chinese companies. We were looking at Candy, their major other companies that might also be doing something like this. So that's why the bill is kind of important to be passed and to really protect investors at the end of the day. So some of the allegations that they talk about that these Chinese companies are doing is that in 2016, Candy, long-serving prior auditor, was ejected from the industry by the PCAOB specifically for failure to catch obvious signs of fraud at Candy, including misappropriation by company management and undisclosed related party transactions. So the auditors themselves can be corrupt. So that is one of the things that can potentially happen. The architects of Candy's original go public transactions were charged with fraud by the SEC in 2014 for engaging in a scheme with Candy chairman and CEO to artificially inflate its stock price. Candy current auditor Markham was just handed a 3-year ban from auditing Chinese companies by the Public Company Accounting Oversight Board, PCAOB. So the person that is doing the accounting for them is actually banned. So that is a huge red flag when it comes to that. So rather than firing the auditor, Candy just reported its intention to renew the engagement. Okay, so that is one of the allegations that they have. So Candy top financial ranks have been removing door, another key sign of accounting irregularities. The company has had 3 auditors in the past 5 years and 4 chief financial officers in the past 4 years. So Candy's financial corroborates our concerns. Candy has consistently booked revenue that cannot collect, a classic hallmark of fake revenues. As DSO, a common measure of revenue collection, was 278 days in the previous quarter, about 5.6x worse than its closest peer. And some of the other allegations, of course, and to support this, we have photographic evidence of one such Candy customer inventory sitting in Candy's own U.S. warehouse. Entity records show the other customs are based in Candy's warehouse, ensured Candy executives. So this is the warehouse they have. So they talked a lot about this. They uncovered a lot of detail about this company. We're not going to go over and talk about the majority of it, but this is just an example. When these kind of auditors, when they take precaution, when the U.S. looks at their numbers, they might found a lot of issues when it comes to these foreign companies, specifically the Chinese companies that have been found being guilty in the past. So delisting all of these Chinese companies is going to hurt a lot of investors, hedge funds, pension funds that are invested in these companies. So we definitely just have to wait for it and see how things unfold. There's going to be different administrations in the office too pretty soon. So that might definitely shift and change things around in the short term. So now let's talk about exactly what happened to the stock market today. As you can see, we had a relatively flat day today where everything was just balanced. We have Apple, Amazon, Facebook, Google. They're not literally doing that much. The EV stocks, they sold off, they gapped down all the way down today, but they recovered, especially the Chinese companies. They were selling off to the downside a lot in pre-market, and they recovered, during the day. NIO went from like 38 to 47. So that is a huge range within that day. But we have strong sectors like energy and the bank financials that did pretty good. And we also have Pfizer that did phenomenal today. It's up 3.53%. Now for tomorrow, we definitely need to be paying attention to this economic reports that can significantly affect the stock market. So at 8:30 a.m., we got the initial jobless claims for the regular state program is going to be announced for the period of November 28th. The previous was 778,000 and the forecast is 780,000. Also 8:30 a.m. we got the initial jobless claims for the period of November 28th. This is going to be the total NSA. The previous was 1.14 million. Also, we have the continued jobless claims for regular state program for November 21st. The previous was 6.37 million. We also have jobless claims numbers for November 14. The previous was 20.32 million. And we also have at 10 a.m. we got the market service PMI and the ISM service index numbers are going to be reported. So definitely keep an eye on for this report's definitely going to affect the stock market in the short term if these numbers are fluctuating to the upside, to the downside. So definitely keep an eye on it. And if you're invested in all these Chinese companies like NIO, XPEV, make sure you be super careful buying and selling it out, trying to time it. Right now it's really unpredictable because they swinging pretty big, like they're going up and down a lot. So be super careful. And if you have any questions, any comments, make sure you drop it in the comment section below. And if you want to join the Discord, get free stocks, and join the Patreon Sports channel, links available. But I catch you guys on another video. Let's get it for tomorrow. Have a wonderful day.